Good afternoon. I'm Gloria Nelson with TUG, and we are very, very pleased to have you join us this afternoon for another TUG Connects 365 webinar. And before we get started, I just wanted to go through a couple of things with you and give a quick plug for TUG. So knowledge is power, and we have heard the phrase knowledge is power how many times? I can say with confidence that you'll be waking up tomorrow with a little more of both. TUG webinars, let's see here, there we go. TUG webinars, online forums, and member events facilitate the timely exchange of ideas and information to help you work smarter and with more confidence, and that is a powerful combination. So, if you're currently a member, it pays to get even more involved. If you're not, please visit our website to discover why 2,300 heads are better than one to help you be the best at what you can do. And so now, without any further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome James Gerdes, President of WebPresented, and I am, James, going to turn the screen over to you. If you would like to share that with our audience, I'll let you know when you are in screen mode, and if you want to start from the first slide, take it away.
Okay, thanks very much, Gloria. Could you see my screen okay?
Perfectly.
Okay, very good. Well, welcome everybody to the WebPresented CRM webinar. My name is James Gerdes. I'm joined with Trent Thompson, our VP of Sales, and Amanda Cucciello, our Director of Marketing, who's been putting in a lot of effort to get everything ready for today. Gloria, thanks for everything you do. Thanks for everything that TUG does. A quick note from WebPresented, we've been a sponsor or supporter of TUG for the last 12 years. We truly believe in what you do, and we think that it's an excellent service that you provide to the Infor ERP community. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about WebPresented CRM. I know that we're joined by not only existing WebPresented customers, but also some prospective customers, folks that are maybe taking a look, kicking the tires, having a look at what our system can do for them. Throughout the course of the webinar, I'm going to be answering asking a few poll questions. And what I'm going to ask you to do is simply choose the answer that most suits your most accurate response to the question. And so let's get started with a quick poll question. Obviously, we're here today because we're talking about CRM. CRM means different things to different organizations. What I want to know from our audience today is the answer to the question is, currently in your existing environment, are you using a CRM today? So let's go ahead and launch that question. And I would like to open up this question to everybody. You should see a amount on the screen now, and we're collecting votes as we are right now. And it looks like about half of you have voted here. So let's give you about 5 more seconds to please get your response in. And okay, let's go ahead and close that up there. Not everybody voted, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and see how we are. So the responses are 82% is yes, absolutely, we're actively using a CRM, which is great news. What we found is that there's 2 major hurdles to adoption of CRM. One of them is the cultural change that it takes within your organization to get salespeople to buy into the CRM culture. And that can't be understated. Too many years have gone by when in distribution, we call it the tail wagging the dog. The salespeople have all the power. They have their contacts, they have their little black books, they're offline. It's not in their best interest to share their information with the organization, because that knowledge, that secrecy is what keeps them in a role. So that's great to hear that most of you are actively using a CRM. The next hurdle, once you've embraced that CRM culture, is finding a tool that fits your environment. Finding a tool that gives users value in every use of the system. So it doesn't become a top-down management mandated directive that every salesperson must use a CRM. It's rather a sales enablement environment that allows users to actually gain more value, to get more bang for their buck, to be able to be more efficient, close more deals throughout the course of their day. So with that being said, let's hop to the agenda. What are we going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to spend about 20 minutes walking through a simple day in the life of a typical outside sales rep. This is an outside sales rep who is responsible for a book of business. He or she has a list of customers or contacts that they're actively working on. And obviously, any sales rep is going to be limited to the amount of hours that they have in a given day. That's their currency. So what WebPresented CRM tries to do is give them the biggest value, the biggest bang for their buck for those hours in the day. And I'm going to show you how we enable a salesperson to make an extremely effective and efficient sales plan on any given day, on any given week, using data that we're pulling directly from your ERP system. I'll go through basic activity plannings, which customers are going to yield the highest value, return on investment for their contacts. Who should we be contacting in terms of customers, in terms of ship tos? Are there any projects out there? How are we going to synchronize emails inbound and outbound with our customer accounts? How are we going to prepare for those meetings so we're well educated, well adjusted, ready to go? And of course, how are we going to track our pipeline and our forecaster opportunities throughout the process? We'll take about 15 minutes there. I'm going to go through a day in the life of a fictitious sales rep. Then I'm going to move into some more advanced features of WPCRM. These are some of the features that WPCRM provides that a flat horizontal CRM doesn't provide. And by horizontal, I mean the Salesforces, your Microsoft Dynamics. These are large dollar, what we call empty box platforms. Yes, they're best of breed in terms of maybe the scalability or the connectivity with third-party systems, but there's no out-of-the-box integration. There's no specific content that's tailored toward wholesale distributors. So WPCRM is the vertical side of a CRM. We tailor specifically to distributors. And I'll show you how we use some of our advanced features to give you more benefit, more competitive advantage over users that are running those empty box CRM platforms. Finally, time permitting, I'll go into the sales operations side, how a manager would gather information from our tool, and how we track and configure screens, how we optimize the system for you to personalize it, including workflows, etc. By all means, as I go through today's agenda, if you have questions, there's a question bank in the webinar panel. Please, by all means, feel free to write questions down. Amanda's going to be collecting those questions as we go along, and she's going to read them out when I get to the end of my presentation. So very briefly, who's WebPresented? WebPresented's a development firm based out of Columbus, Ohio. I am one of just 2 people in our corporate office today. We are, obviously, we're still practicing social distancing. We are distributed not only in central Ohio, but across the US in terms of our employees. And we've been around since 2003. We started out as a consulting firm. We used to write modifications and customizations to Infor ERP products. As time evolved, we were starting to build integrations with third-party CRM platforms. We would take a Salesforce.com and we would integrate it with, for example, Infor SX.e or Infor A+ or Facts or Shims. And then what we discovered by working with distributors is that they were spending an inordinate amount of money on these large CRM platforms when they were only using a fraction of the capabilities. Where the true value came for these companies was in the integration and the usage of data coming out of their Infor ERP system. So about 10 years ago, we invested heavily in a development organization and built out a robust enterprise-grade CRM platform that is specifically targeted to wholesale distributors. Over the course of the last 10 years, our company's grown. We have now over 20,000 sales reps running on WebPresented CRM, and it becomes a critical piece of their daily business. We have extremely high adoption rates. We have extremely high success rates among our customers, a very active community of users, and a very strong list of resources that are happy to provide testimonials about our product to other prospective customers. What makes WPCRM different to other CRMs? Number one is how focused we are on bringing in data, making use of data that you currently own, that's a corporate asset of yours that's currently in your ERP system. So oftentimes this ERP data sits dormant. We take it, we activate it, we put it in the hands of sales reps in the same platform as they're expected to enter their activities and make their plans, so that a unified interface is their single stop that they have to get not only gather insights, but also enter their data. Our system's also extremely easy to use. For example, the ability to drag and drop opportunities between stages, the ability to create quotes and have it automatically complete the product number as you're adding it, the ability to simply look through analytics and easily navigate throughout the system. And I'll show you that as we get into the demo portion of today. Three fundamental principles I want to talk about today. Number one, providing value to salespeople. Our system's built with the sales rep in mind. So while from a corporate point of view, you may believe that we need to implement CRM because it's going to help us gain efficiencies, it's going to help us enforce business processes, it's going to help us get all those contacts into a centralized database. Those are all fantastic reasons to gather return on investment from a CRM. But if you're overlooking the simple principle that you have to give your salespeople value, then you're constantly going to be in this power struggle with your sales team to get adoption, to get usage of the system. So we have to provide value to our users. Number two, the system has to be accessible from anywhere in the world, whether that be on a mobile device or a browser. Data has to be readily available, has to be fast, responsive, and easy to put in the hands of decision makers. And finally, usability. Oftentimes, salespeople are overwhelmed by overly complex systems. They don't want to be bombarded with 50 different menu options or difficult user interfaces that require more clicks than they have to. So WebPresented is very, very focused on providing the minimum amount of keystrokes, the most intuitive system possible. We believe if anybody can use an iPhone, they can use WebPresented CRM.
And James,
yes,
I think as we're talking about the value of WPCRM, and we're talking about the topic of user adoption and how value is presented in our system, I think it's a great time for our second poll question. If you want to pop that up, where we gauge how user adoption is going along, especially since we have north of 80% of our attendees today using a CRM system.
Sure. Yeah. So as you can see on the screen, we want to understand what are the biggest challenges to you for implementing the CRM, for getting adoption rate. So if you could please enter that information. We're going to give you just a few seconds here and collect those responses. Obviously, it's simply that the sales reps can't find value, the CRM might not be integrated, or it's not mobile friendly. So, okay, so we're getting a good amount of the responses coming in. And I can see right off the bat, overwhelmingly, the sales reps can't find value. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, is trying to get value into the hands of your sales team. So let's go ahead and close that poll. So we've got about 75% voting that the sales reps can't get value out of the system. So we'll talk about that heavily today. Okay, where does WebPresented CRM fit into your ecosystem? Of course, we're going to be very, very closely connected with your Infor backend ERP system. A lot of our sales history comes directly from that. But also when we talk about quoting, we have real-time connectivity, the ability to push contacts back into your ERP system, the ability to look up pricing, availability by customer, etc. We also are very closely integrated with Exchange or Office 365 or Gmail. We have Google Maps integration. We'll integrate with any third-party marketing automation tools. So while WebPresented does have a relatively straightforward marketing module of its own, we fully understand that as marketing needs grow, as distributors get smarter with their marketing game plans, we need to accommodate the integration with a third-party marketing automation tool. We'll also pull in data from your e-commerce website. E-commerce is becoming more and more important in distribution. Your customers are going to be visiting your website. That's great feedback to send to your sales team as to understanding that full picture of your customers' business interactions. Okay, real quick, we're going to talk about competitive advantage in wholesale distribution. Why do customers use WebPresented CRM? The goal here is to give the customer the best experience possible. So we'll give them a unique experience. That experience doesn't have to be the same experience that for a cookie cutter experience for every single customer. The goal of WebPresented CRM is to deliver a unique experience to each and every one of your customers. To that point, we'll use data, we'll use customer history to put it in the hands of your sales reps to better understand their customers. Finally, I'm going to show you one slide which sort of represents where WebPresented CRM comes in. And that is this Netflix screen that you're very familiar with. So obviously you're all familiar with this Netflix interface. It's very simple, it's easy to use. WebPresented sees a lot of similarities between this interface and its own platform. First of all, it's simple and easy to use. It doesn't require a whole lot of training, and it's very, very easy to make use of. But secondly, Netflix uses a whole plethora of data behind the scenes to come up with guided decision making for each and every one of its users. So just like your sales team has a whole slew of information, data in the ERP system in their hands, we're going to simplify their decision making process by distilling that data into simple, actionable sound bites or action bites in order for them to come up with their high value activities. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to jump straight into a live software demonstration. And I'm going to show you a simple day in the life of a sales rep. And the sales rep we're talking about here, his name is Vic Aldridge, and Vic's an outside sales rep. Vic's typical daily activities involve, first of all, trying to understand which of his customers require attention. He also needs to understand how he's performing with relation to the company's budget or targets for him. He needs to understand what hot opportunities or new leads are coming in that require his attention. And finally, he needs to make sure there's no emails coming in or action items that are required of him that are that more reactive part of his day. Now, let's talk briefly about budgets and targets. WebPresented CRM has its own built-in budgeting tool that allows not only managers or regional managers to come up with sales budgets or sales targets or quotas by sales reps, but it also allows you to come up with a granular approach to setting those targets. In this particular case, we've come up with a simplified approach. Vic has two different sets of targets. He has an equipment quota and a consumables quota. Now, from a business perspective, you might say, well, okay, Vic, we just interested in making money. So it doesn't really matter if Vic makes that money through equipment or consumables. But at a big picture approach, it's actually important to set up budgets at a slightly more granular level. Now, why is that? Well, the answer is that equipment and consumables in this case tend to drive one another's sales. So within the CRM, we're not looking at that reactive response. We're trying to grow the business in a specific direction. And in this particular case, we want Vic to make money, of course, but we want a certain portion of that money to be made on the equipment side and a certain portion on the consumable side. And if the pendulum ever swings too far in one direction, we're going to remind Vic that he needs to focus also on the other side. One hand feeds the other. It's a virtuous cycle. Of course, we have several customers that can use their own third-party budgeting tools, but we also have our own built-in system that allows you to get even granular, even down to the customer level, to the customer and market level, or even the product group or product category level. You can set targets and track those targets throughout the course of the year or the month or the quarter, however you choose to do your targets. In this particular case, Vic can see here that his equipment sales is doing great, actually. For the month of March, he's actually already hit that quota. He's fine. He doesn't need to really focus too much more on there. However, on the consumables side, he's tracking below par. The yellow line here is a projection of where he's going to be come the end of the month. The blue line is his stable goal, that static target that's going to increase gradually over every billing day of the month. And the green line uses data that comes directly out of your Infor ERP system for Vic's customers so that he can see how he's performing. So Vic immediately, every morning when he turns on his phone, when he opens up his tablet, he can see, okay, the focus for the remaining 5 days here needs to be slightly more to the consumable side. So he's going to take that decision factor with him throughout the course of his planning as he's planning out those 5 days. The next thing that it's going to do is take a look at his stack ranked list of customers. And that's what we call the customer scorecard. And in a nutshell, a customer scorecard is all of Vic's customers, but they're sorted in such a way where the customers that our system believes are ripe for high value activities are listed at the very top of the list. Now, what does that do for Vic? Well, first of all, it helps him come up with some sort of systemic way of going through those customers. He doesn't want to just call the same customers, maybe his biggest small subset of customers on a regular basis. He wants to make sure there's no sleeping giants there. He wants to make sure there's no smaller customers that he could potentially grow, but he also wants to make sure there's no customers there that are exhibiting what we call negative vitality statistics. And a vitality statistic is an indicator that shows us, based on buying patterns, based on invoicing data out of your ERP system. It could also be based on ERP, CRM data, or email communication data, that this customer is potentially in jeopardy. And if there's a customer exhibiting behaviors that tell us this customer is in jeopardy, that customer is immediately going to be put at the forefront, at the very top of Vic's list of customers. So as you can see here, when Vic opens up his laptop in the morning, within a few seconds, he understands where he's performing, and then he's going to start making decisions, guided decisions, based on the data in the system. So let's take a look at this top customer. Number one, Transcend Technology. This customer is Vic's customer that is most in need of attention. And as we click on that customer, we're presented with a customer scorecard. Again, just a small subset of indicators, and we have a library of about 50 or 100 or so of these vitality statistics based on each of our customers' different needs and their different industries and environments. We can start profiling and segmenting customers. That might be customers with relation to CRM activities, with relation to sales activities, perhaps profitability or cost to serve. Any of those indicators that help us understand that a customer should be focused can go towards weighting our blended overall health score. As I can see, this customer has a 2.4 out of 10. That's not a very good score. I can then see further, why is that so low? Well, I can see here immediately that the lowest score is what we call the frequency score. It's got simply 1 out of 10. That's in a very bad shape. Now, why is the frequency score so bad? Well, I can see here that typically, historically, this customer has established a regular, frequent buying pattern. This customer buys product from us every 2 days. That's an established pattern of behavior. However, 15 days have gone by since we would have expected this customer to next place their order. So they've broken from their seasonal or repetitive frequency trend, and now it's putting it in the salesperson's hands as a red flag, as an action item to take action upon. You can see here that just in a few clicks, in fact, in one click, Vic has gone from looking at his overall status to now understanding which customers require attention. And of course, Vic can quickly and easily remove customers from the scorecard. He can say, remind me again in 7 days. You know, this one might have a legitimate reason. He can add a quick note, send a note to his manager, explain why this customer's been postponed, put on snooze for 7 days, and come back again. But effectively, this scorecard is organic. It's a living list of customers based on touch points and interactions and events that come out of your disparate systems that we talked about in the WPCRM ecosystem. So let's take this one step further. Vic's taking a look at his customer here, and he's recognized that they've stopped buying from us. Now, he might want to take another look and a slightly deeper dive and say, well, okay, well, they've stopped buying, but have they stopped buying overall? Well, let's go ahead and click on this again. Apologies. My session may have timed out a little bit here while we were while I was walking. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the customer screen. And then when the customer screen comes up, we're going to see here that I can jump immediately to the customer's detail screen. But let's take a quick look at some of the other details and other metrics that we have at the customer level. For example, I know this customer is in decline, but are they in decline across the board, or is there a specific product group or product category that this particular customer is stopping buying? And it looks here like electronics accessories is a big part of this customer's purchase portfolio, but that's the category that's in decline. I can even drill in and get down to the item subclasses or product subcategories. Even see this year compared to last year, which of these PCATs are down compared to last year. I can see screen dimmers here. They bought $12,000 by this time last year. There's no sales this year. Let's get down to the item level so I can discuss with this customer, why did this product, why have we stopped selling this product to this customer. Maybe there's a legitimate reason. Maybe I want to add a note to this customer's so that not only for myself, but for other individuals contacting, communicating with this customer, they too can log that information. So what I'm going to do now is click on the link that says View Account Detail. And this is going to jump us immediately to the customer screen so that I can get useful customer information, understand recent communication history, understand the landscape of this particular customer. So for starters, I can see, for example, when did we last communicate? Looks like we communicated with them back in January. Well, they like to be contacted every once a month. So again, I can set up a flag, I can set up a reminder. This might contribute towards their vitality score if we've gone a certain amount of time without contacting them over their required frequency. I can scroll down and see useful information, for example, marketing information. What newsletters have they signed up for? What's their e-commerce behavior? What percentage of orders do they have on their web? How many times do they log in the last 30 days, for example? Even down to useful information like receivables balances, sales history, summary information of the customer that give me that immediate snapshot as to where we are with this particular customer's day. So once I've gathered that, once Vic's gathered that information, of course, he can look at any notes. Looks like there's a project coming up, follow up in July. Looks like we've left a message here a few times, but we don't have any traction. So it's now up to Vic to come up with an action plan for this customer. So what he's going to do next is click on what we call the activity feed. And the activity feed is a chronological, reverse chronological order of sequence of all of our interactions, all of our touch points with this customer. It's that 360-degree view. So it's not just Vic's personal interactions with this customer, but it's also our inside sales team, our customer support team, our technical team, receivables team, credit team, all of those different individuals of communicating with this customer, as well as interactions that are going on with emails and in the ERP system that allow Vic to understand immediately the snapshot of this particular account. Of course, he can filter this, he can search, have they placed any returns recently, any service calls we've been out there to repair any equipment. Have they placed any returns, or have we got any open orders outstanding? Maybe that's why they're on hold. There's a large open order, they're waiting for that to fulfill, and maybe we need to follow up on that with them. All useful information to help maintain that relationship, grow trust with this customer, and provide that unique, personalized experience. Of course, this is all searchable and it all integrates seamlessly with Outlook and Exchange. A quick note on the Outlook piece. Of course, as we're working with this particular customer, we can choose whether or not we want to automatically synchronize emails back and forth with this customer. In this particular case, let's take a look at one of the contacts here, Jim Perry. You'll see here that Jim is synced with Office 365. So that contact information lives inside of my Outlook and also on my smartphone. But let's just say we have an email coming in from Jim, this one about a shower door install. What we can do by clicking on the WPCRM tab inside of Outlook, you'll see here it automatically finds our customer account. It knows what account it's associated with, and I can simply in one click choose to track this information inside of WPCRM. It's going to ask me if I want to link it to a specific opportunity. In this case, I'm just simply going to log that particular activity. So along with the email content, along with the attachment, that information is now going to be inside of the activity feed for this particular customer. So if I filter customers through here, here's our email along with attachments, everything simple, shared with my team. Okay, great. So Vic knows that he wants to go ahead and plan an appointment with this customer. It's very easy for him now to not only look at his Outlook calendar directly from WP, but also schedule a sales call. So let's go ahead and schedule a sales call. So let's just say consumables follow-up. Oops. And of course, Vic can put a date and time in here. He can designate what we call a purpose code. So this is the type of call. So for reporting purposes and for trackability, traceability, we can have that information stored. Of course, automatically it's going to synchronize with his Office 365, with his Outlook. So not only is this event now going to show up on his to-do list for the for today or for the week in the CRM, It's also going to show up in Outlook, it's going to show up on his mobile phone, and it's going to show up in the mobile version of WPCRM. Now, of course, not only can he schedule an individual meeting, but he can also, using our Google Maps integration, maybe potentially schedule meetings with other nearby customers. So Vic's going to be in the Fort Worth area. By clicking on the link that says show nearby accounts, he can now see other customers that are in close proximity. So for example, if I zoom in here, Vic's visiting Transcend Techno. Well, this company here, Legacy Merch, it's only 3 miles away. Let's go and have a quick look and understand if they're a customer that's in need of a visit. Well, we haven't met with them since April. What's their health score look like? When's their last order? Are there any notes or activities? No, these guys might be worth a visit. We could look at the activity feed. We could look at analytics and understand if there's high value activities for that particular customer. Now, of course, going back to his original call, he's going to plan his route. He has access to Google Maps. He can use his mobile interface. And let's just hop over real quickly to our mobile app. And you can see this all currently runs in a browser on his mobile device. We're working on a native app that's going to actually run on Android and on iOS. But he can see his calendar, his activities here. So for example, the meeting he has today, the consumables follow-up, the same information appears on his mobile phone as it does in Outlook. He can mark this as complete. He can get a quick link to the customer information right there and then when he's in the parking lot. He can understand, for example, what the activity feed is. What are the sales history of this particular customer? Do we have any open projects or opportunities? Also, what are the recent notes that we've had with this particular customer? All very easily, readily accessible from his mobile interface. So let's take that one step further. And Vic's planning on a call with this customer. How else can we give Vic that value? That's the biggest item that the sales reps aren't grasping is what's in it for me. How do we give them value? Now, I showed you a little bit about our analytics capabilities. And I showed you how, for example, we can drill into product groups and understand the makeup of a customer's purchases, historical purchases. But that only tells half the story. What this particular analytics does, and this is where a lot of, in quotes, BI tools fall down, is that they only show data based on historical purchases. This report is only going to show us based on what the customer purchased last year, what are they purchasing this year. It's in a silo of just based on historical purchases. But where WebPresented comes in is well our suggested products capabilities. So by clicking on the suggested products tab, I can understand here that not only based on this specific customer, what they've previously purchased, but our data intelligence goes in and finds other similar customers and what those customers have purchased. And if there's gaps or spaces or voids between a single customer's purchase and other similar type customers' purchases, then we're going to present recommendations to our sales team based on those missing products. In this particular case, Transcend Techno, they've bought a lot of these aluminum panels from us. Okay, that's great. We're doing great in their panels business. However, they haven't bought any of this white paint that is often used to paint the panels. Maybe they're getting their paint business elsewhere. If you recall, Vic is working on getting his consumables targets up this month. How much better value is it to put this in the hands of a salesperson who's looking to improve their consumable sales than simply present them with a couple different options of different paints that they might be able to sell to this customer when they're getting ready to call on this customer anyway. So let's go ahead and highlight those two items. And in fact, let's go one better. Not only can we create a task or a follow-up meeting with this customer, I can even go directly out to the ERP system and get a quote for this customer for these items based on their actual sales, oh, sorry, one second. So we can get a quote for this customer based on these products prices in real time out of the ERP system. So as you can see here, I went directly from the analytics screen, recognized two products that this customer could potentially be interested in, and immediately popped them into a quote that's ready to send to this customer. The quoting tool in WebPresented CRM is by far one of our most popular and powerful utilities. It simply replaces the need for a sales rep really to ever go into order entry in the ERP system. Not only does it provide the benefit of having it all in one place, but there's a lot of other benefits from using quoting within the CRM. Firstly, our integration with e-commerce. So you'll notice here that we have product images. So I can even potentially add these product images to the quote. You'll notice there's a little checkbox here that says include this product image on the line item. I can add comments. I can track the history of this particular item. I can see this customer's order history for this item in one click. I can see the pricing history. If you guys use lost business reasons in the ERP, I can see at what price points this customer has bought this product and potentially what price points this customer has lost this product. Not only this specific customer, I can see all customers in this particular customer's vertical. What's the elasticity of this product? What's a typical historical good sales price for this product? We also integrate with third-party platforms, for example, SparksIQ or Epicube. Those are pricing optimization tools that integrate seamlessly in with WPCRM and provide this very, very simplified green, yellow, red price banding that helps your salespeople come up with the optimal price for this customer for this product. And that overcomes a huge hurdle that many distributors, a bunker that they fall for, which is, well, sales reps are constrained to this cost plus mentality. Well, okay, I can't possibly sell this for over 25% above margin. That just wouldn't be right. In reality, that's incorrect. You can sell this product at a higher price because the analysis and the history behind this type of pricing optimization tells us so. In fact, it even obfuscates, it removes any kind of margin awareness from our sales reps unless they dig in, unless you choose to allow them to see, for example, what the margin is for any given product. Now, of course, an additional benefit of using CRM for quoting purposes is not only that we can easily, for example, add items on the fly. It's going to be a much more modern user interface. I can type in a keyword, I can type in a part number. It's also going to remember favorite products. So users can store their favorite types of products. We can create bundles or kits on the CRM side and simply add groups of items to their quote. You'll notice when I add an item, it automatically goes out asynchronously and fetches that data back from the ERP system. For example, I can group items together. Let's just say this particular group is called widgets. I can put subtotals at the group. I can move items in and out of the groups. I can format this quote beautifully so that it shows up nicely on our PDF file that we're sending out to our customer. It's a much more professional quote presentation than you would get typically out of your ERP system. It's branded, it can have product images, subtotals, comments, etc., as a much more modern interface. But an additional benefit now is since we have predictive analytics built into WPCRM, we can of course offer suggested products at the time of entering a quote. So for example, I'm ordering some paint and some adhesive here. Let's go ahead and see what our suggested products recommends. Well, since we're quoting these products to our customer anyway, there's paint and there's adhesive, what better time to offer them? Do you know we offer this paint remover, this adhesive remover as well? Would you be interested in adding that to your quote? So a simple ability to add upsell items, add the warranty if they're buying the equipment, add the service plan, all of that kind of information is available contextually as the users are entering their quote. It's a huge benefit, a huge reason to put this in the hands of the salesperson to help them with data, to help them understand some trends based on historical customer information. Okay, finally.
James,
yes, go ahead, Trent.
Oh, I'm sorry. This seems like a great time for, we have one more poll question remaining, and you've talked about customer retention as we look at customer health and vitality scores. We've talked about upsell, cross-sell potential when we look at suggested products, margin improvement as we look at the SparksIQ price bands and the quoting tool, and really just actionable data, right? And those are all things that we hear from our customer base on this is how we obtain a positive ROI with WebPresented. I think it ties into our last poll question really well right here. So I hate to get you in mid-swing, but I think if you wouldn't mind pulling that question up, and let's engage the group here and understand how folks would value the system they're using today.
Great. So we're asking, people, how would they state the value of their current CRM partnership? So if you would take a few moments and respond to that question, we can see what the, okay, so a lot of people here not having a CRM, which contradicts the early one. Okay, we've got some more answers coming in. Okay, what ROI, good team feedback, but struggle to quantify. That seems to be the most popular response. So let's just go ahead and give a few more seconds, and I'll put that response up on the screen. It's right here that we can see here. The feedback says typically it's good team feedback, but they're struggling to quantify the ROI. Okay, so finally, let's just get into a final piece of the system, and that is opportunity management. So obviously we've talked a little bit about managing customers. We've talked about planning our day. Let's talk a little bit about the transactional side and the project management side of WPCRM. So continuing Vic's day yes, go ahead.
James, we still have the poll question up if you want to.
Okay, let's go ahead and hide that now. There we go.
There we go.
How's that? Perfect. Let's go back to our screen. Thanks, Trent. And now we're going to talk a little bit about subsequent follow-ups from meetings. Usually, the outcome of a meeting, hopefully, is going to be some sort of new potential deal or working on an existing deal or opportunity. And I can't tell you how many customers we talk to and say, how do you manage your projects? How do you manage opportunities? And overwhelmingly, the response is, well, we use a spreadsheet to track that. And while a spreadsheet's easy to set up and quick and easy to use, and everyone feels that they can customize it themselves, what a spreadsheet doesn't provide, I mean, maybe you could share it on Google Sheets or Google or Microsoft Sheets, but it doesn't really provide that true collaboration ability. It doesn't provide any reports, and it doesn't track over time the progression of each activity in a clear visual manner. So WebPresented CRM has a very, very flexible opportunity management tool that allows you to capture deals or projects or potential forecast revenue and store them in a centralized location. Now, critical to opportunity tracking is the ability for you to build stages or phases of each of your deals. Now, of course, you might have different types of deals, and those different types of deals might have a different set of execution stages that go throughout the process. So, of course, within WebPresented CRM, we can offer you the ability to categorize types of deals. So, for example, this is a construction business, and they have these project jobs. So it goes from bid list to quoting, etc., through to the completion of each stage. Maybe it's a piece of equipment we're selling here that has a different set of milestones and categories. Whatever the type of project or deal, an opportunity is very, very customizable entity. Effectively, the commonality is we're tracking, let's open up one of these individual pieces, one of these individual opportunities, and then here's a lead that's come in, and it's potential opportunity for a printer purchase. Now, of course, we can track who the sales rep is, we can track different project roles here, I can understand what the margin and the sales potential is, I can even associate quotes with this particular project, as well as product groups, product categories, vendors, etc. Useful for vendor reporting if you want to capture information and send it on to specific vendors or suppliers. Within the different stages, of course, I can see how many days, and this is a bit of a messed up one because for demo purposes, we've been moving it back and forth, but I can see how many days this particular project has been in its given stages. I can see the history in terms of what we call the action plan of any tasks, notes, emails, appointments that we've had pertaining to this opportunity. So at a single place, I can see that entire history and gather a snapshot of where this opportunity stands and what the road ahead is for this given deal. In this particular case, we're expecting to win this deal by the end of July. We have 38 days in which to complete the steps required to push it over the end line. This is great for defining processes, also great for making sure that new reps and all reps are adhering to a common set of processes. Within our pipeline tool, it's extremely easy for me to take any given opportunity and drag it from one stage to another. simple drag and drop, very, very easy to use. Not only can I drag and drop it to the stage of won, lost, etc., but I can also complete a deal, mark it as won. It's going to show up in my win-loss report. Useful information from an individual, but also as a sales manager, I can track the opportunities for my entire team. As well as this nice drag and drop user interface, I can also see, for example, the funnel, and I can drill down and see the individual opportunities in each stage of the funnel. I can sort it by the number of days each opportunity's been there, as well as sales potential, etc. Another useful feature is, as well as being able to report this in a graphical format by phase, I can take a look at my forecast. When are deals due to close? I can see here I've got several due to close in June, some in July, but when it gets to September, we're going to be a little thin. I can also see I've got one that's overdue, as well as some that don't have an expected close date. It's easy for me to simply drag them to the appropriate date, and it's going to update the expected close date on each one of those opportunities. Again, very easy to manage. One of the huge benefits of this tool is the value it provides a salesperson in terms of keeping them organized. Our belief is that any opportunity should have some sort of next step or next action item. And you'll notice there's a bunch of red circles. In fact, they're all red right now. That means that if it's a red circle, it means there's an overdue activity pending for this particular item. Now, in reality, our sales rep should not have this many reds, but they can sort this information and put the opportunities that have a overdue or upcoming next action at the top of the list. So it enables them to sort through the clutter to be able to create a follow-up, let's say for a week or a month's time, and then almost forget about that item until it becomes close to being due. So again, if it's put on hold, if there's a follow-up required with waiting on customer information, it enables me to focus on the actionable, focus on the here and now. Again, just a small piece of extra value that we're adding to our sales team. Okay, I understand that I've gone slightly over the 40 minutes I'd allotted. We did have a little bit of time spent on our opinion polls. I'm going to wrap up here. In summary, I'm just going to give you a quick summary of what we walked through. I showed you a day in the life of a sales rep. I walked through a typical dashboard where we're showing the sales rep their budgets, where we're sorting their customers based on vitality or based on the health or the next action required. I drilled in and showed you some product information. I showed you the customer screen, how we manage that customer. I showed you the activity feed, whereby we look at that entire 360-degree view of customer interactions. I walked through creating quotes, creating opportunities for a specific customer, as well as the ability to manage contacts and filter in information from emails and appointments from Outlook for those contacts. So in summary, what we believe WebPresented provides is a all-inclusive platform that has very, very strong integrations with third-party systems that you probably already have, particularly in for ERP, but also Outlook, also your e-commerce system, also any BI tools that you might have, Google Maps. Bring all of these systems together into one single centralized hub that your sales team is going to use day in, day out, make it easy to use, make it accessible fast, so that they can better accomplish the goals that they can with their day. They can close more deals, become more efficient, win more time back in the day for their personal times, or to make subsequent further deals. I'm going to now turn it over to Amanda and turn it over to the audience and see if there's any questions that you've had throughout the course of this demonstration. Of course, if there's questions or if you'd like a more detailed follow-up offline, our email address here is sales@webpresented.com. But in the meantime, Amanda, I'm going to turn it over to you if you're still online and see in the remaining 5-10 minutes or so, are there any questions that come in from the attendees?
Thank you, James. Yes, so we have had a few questions come through, so at the remaining time, we'll go through them and try and answer as many as we can. So
Sure.
The first one that came through, when you showed the quoting and integration with ERP, I think I saw pictures. Where did the product images come from? From the ERP, e-commerce, external PIM?
Okay, yeah, good question. So in this particular case, the images come from the customer's e-commerce website. So we would basically build an integration to your website or a PIM that has product images, and based on the part number, we'll pull in those product images. We have done third-party, what we call vendor punch-outs, that go out and grab images from vendor websites, but of course that's going to differ by vendor. So that's more catered towards customers that have a small, limited number of suppliers or manufacturers that they sell. But in this particular case, these images come from the e-commerce system.
Thank you. And I'm not sure if this question is about that same topic, but someone asks, where do suggested products come from?
Okay, so effectively what we do is we take 3 years of sales history. And based on that 3 years of sales history, we take that history across your entire set of customers. That simply comes from an ERP system. We have a data cube that crunches every single night and effectively finds associations between customers that have bought similar products. It's called clustering. And effectively, we create these clusters of customers of yours that have commonality in their buying patterns, all based on invoice history. You don't have to provide it with any parameters. Now you can, of course, give it training. So basically you can say, okay, we want to silo customers by vertical. We want to silo customers by region. Maybe you have, customers across the board, some in the north, some in the south. It's, historically colder in the north, so they want more of your cooling heating parts, and the southern customers want the cooling parts. There's certainly silos that we can put up within your data, but effectively it's all self-driven. It just uses existing invoice history to find similarities, to find associations between product purchases, and find the gaps in customers that aren't buying products that we believe they should be buying. It's exactly the same as what Amazon.com does when you go onto their website and it says, for example, the customer that bought the hammer also buys the nails. Are you interested in buying these nails?
Thank you. All right. When quoting to customers, is there a place that can be seen by the salesperson if there's quantity in stock?
Yes. So that is an integration piece that we have. We can pull in availability. So for example, if let's just say, for example, I can take a look at the pricing and availability for any given customer for any given product. So for example, if I type in a part number here, I'm going to go ahead and hit search. It's going to go out to the ERP system. It's going to grab the real-time quantity available of this particular product for this customer's warehouse. I can even see, based on other warehouses, how many are available. But as I build the quote, we can also bring that quantity available in. So of course I can see, if we have it in stock or not. An additional feature to the quote is our product search, which allows us to, for example, for any given customer, bring in products, and you see I can check this says only show me products that are on hand. So again, I can do a search here. In this case, there's none available, so I just chose a test. But I can pull in a listing of items. I can add items. For example, if I click how many I want of each one, it can go ahead and add them to any given quote. So yes, absolutely, I can do this based on quantity available and display that quantity available, not only in the quote to my customer, but also to the salesperson.
Great. All right. And unless any other questions come through, this is going to be the last one for today, and we'll probably just about wrap us up. But what if the customer does not have an account? How are those sales efforts recorded?
So in other words, if it's what we call a prospect, we have the ability to create prospects in our system. So this customer might not necessarily be in the ERP system. Of course, as we add it, it's going to ask me, it's going to check, make sure we don't have duplicates in here. Let's just give it a random name. And so now I can simply add a prospect into the system. I can add contacts, and then I can record sales activities, opportunities for what we call prospect accounts. These accounts don't exist inside of the ERP platform. Incidentally, we do have a very, very robust, and this is a fairly new feature, a robust duplicate checking algorithm that goes in and makes sure that even if there's new prospects added, if those customers are added into the ERP system at a later time, it's going to go ahead and find duplicates, and it's going to give them a match score. So for example, it'll show us Ad Pro uniforms, Ad Pro. There's a slight difference here. One's a customer, one's a prospect, but we're pretty certain, at 96% certain, that this is the same account. And we can actually even automate this process where we can just automatically merge accounts. And these are actually two prospects, but we can merge these accounts automatically based on certain criteria matches.
Perfect. All right, so that is it for questions. And then, as we said, if any other questions come up, feel free to reach out to sales at WebPresented, and we can have someone reach out and go through that with you.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Trent. Thanks again, Gloria, for your coordinating all of this. Hopefully, for those customers of ours on the call, great to see you show up. And for those of you who aren't customers, hopefully there's something of interest here that could be worth a follow-up demo. So appreciate your time. Goodbye.
James, Trent, and Amanda, thank you so much for the contributions that you gave us this afternoon and content in today's webinar. And we'd like to thank everyone for attending today's TUG Connect 365, and we look forward to hosting you at the next one. So everybody, as they say in Hollywood, that's a wrap, and have a great day. Bye now.